Okay, so that was an awesome experience of resetting my laptop to get our location settings up. Always good when you're trying to tell people to invest thousands of dollars in a degenerate gambling scheme, and they're doing so on the basis of your competence as an advice giver, and you do not properly turn on location services on your MacBook. So we are good to go. It should put us through here in a minute. What is going on, World Ted? Once again, how are you, buddy? How's your day going?
To be fair, I would just like to clarify, your location services were on your MacBook. It just had a hard time reading them, so we had to turn it on and back off, or turn it off and back on again.
There you go.
Much like we had to reset your laptop.
There you
So
go.
yeah, if I drop dead tomorrow, I don't know how many streams would ever be going live for the show again.
No, and especially because like I'm so weirdly like angry with technology stuff. I just don't like. I'm impatient for it. You know. Interesting. Christian McCaffrey is firmly the sixth overall on DraftKings. That makes a lot of sense.
Well, people are starting to steam him up because obviously the Niners are dropping like flies again. So people are going back to, well, he's the wide receiver one. Is kind of the thought
Yeah.
process there. I'm seeing him go pretty regularly over JSN right now,
Yeah.
which I'm not doing that, even as a Niners fan, but I understand the swing you're taking there.
I think more so than any other round of the draft, I care about security in round one. Like I just want to feel good about my first round pick and feel like I have like the cornerstone of my roster. I call my rosters like this is a Cook roster, this is an Amon Ra roster, you know, whatever. I want to feel really good about that, and I'm sorry, I'm just so freaked out by Christian's injury history. By the fact that, like, I do think there's a real floor on the 49ers this year, unfortunately. When you just look at Mike Evans' quad is already acting up. Christian McCaffrey finished as like a back end running back four and a mid range running back five the last 2 years. He took the number of touches he took last year. George Kittle's coming off an Achilles. The beat report was pretty bleak today from our favorite Grant Cohen. Just talking about Purdy's throwing to no one. No one's getting open. Stribling has a hamstring right now. Nick Martin got injured today. Fred Warner picked up a minor injury but came back today. I think there's like 9 injuries in the last 2 days. So I do think there's real floor with the 49ers. And that's not even talking about Christian himself, who obviously is risky. It's just probably not a pick I'm making this year, dude. That's just probably what
To
it
be
is.
fair, to be fair, we cannot take Grant Cohn reports very seriously. He's a very subversive person.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
He's
Yep.
very sub. He has like his agendas that he tries to push, and one
Mm-hmm.
of them is like anti-Niners, anti-Shanahan. It's very bizarre that he covers the team
Mm-hmm.
to me, even. He's very entertaining to watch. Like
Mm-hmm.
Grant Cohn, I showed my dad a Grant Cohn clip where he was talking about Trey Lance, and Ted Sr. approved, but yeah, no, you got to take everything Grant says with a grain of salt. But I'm not worried about Purdy, that's for sure. It sounds like Mike Evans, whatever he has, is very minor. I'm not worried about that. I am worried about what happens though if Mike Evans goes down for any reason. As in you're looking at Dijon Stribling and Debo as the wide receiver one and two. That is not ideal.
So I should totally pull it up to discuss. It was such a well written post a few days ago on the big fantasy subreddit about is Deshaun Stribling just Juwan Jennings with more upside? And I really, really liked that comparison about like a big bodied dude who his catch radius was excellent in college, his drop ball rate was excellent in college. Um, and like, so are we getting that sort of like same bet we were making with Juwan Jennings, but like 5 rounds later in Stribling, it's a guy that they obviously liked and went up and got, and then there's fragility all around him where like Stribling could be forced into a pretty high usage role pretty early here if things break a certain way. I think all things considered, I'm pretty in on Stribling as like your wide receiver five in redraft or your wide receiver six, a floating wide receiver six. I still have been taking Amon Ra over JSN in this format because I think JSN's more of a big play guy. I kind of like that I have like 40% Amon Ra on DK because I keep drafting in the same spot, and I kind of like this being like my big Amon Ra flag plant, full PPR. I love Jared Goff. Um, I don't know though. We'll mix it up because I've gotten so much of him. I do absolutely love Amon Ra this year though. I think he's just such a comfy click at cost.
Well, I think everyone loves Amon Ra so much that the new thing that we do as a fantasy community is we just continue to say this is the next Amon Ra St. Brown
Yeah.
about every
Yeah.
player we get excited about.
Yep.
Ben Johnson came out today and said that Luther Burden is destined to be one of the next great wide receivers. and he compared him to Amon-Ra St. Brown, which I don't know. I would assume that Ben Johnson isn't tapped into our fantasy community here,
No,
but part of me wants to think that he is, and he's messing with people.
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what to make of it, dude. Because the clip, the as Theo Greminger keeps pointing out on Twitter, the vibes are just so immaculate with Burden right now. Um, but I really do see that as like three dudes who are going to draw a 20% target share. They're going to eat off each other's plates at different times of the year. And Ben Johnson at his core is still a heavy running coach. I would be surprised if like Amon Ra goes for, some people think he's going to be like a first round pick next year. They think that's what they're getting, or Amon Ra, Burden. They think that's what they're getting out of him is like, they're getting the discount now on a first round pick. To me, that's like so bullish. I would be surprised. I would be surprised if we get an explosion like that. Um, I also, in general, the Amon Ra comparisons. We were talking about this earlier this week. The Amon Ra comparisons are like really, they're starting to get under my skin a little bit. Dude, Amon Ra is one of the most unique players in NFL history, and it's because he doesn't look like a superhuman to the degree that other NFL players do that people don't realize. Like the ability to run routes the way he does, to block the way he does, the technician he is, like from a technical standpoint, and then all of that normally equates to a fantastic slot receiver, but then he takes that and he has the greatest short area quickness in the modern NFL, which makes him a red zone threat too. So he's not just like a slot receiver. He's not just like a short yardage guy. He goes deep and then he chews you up in the red zone. That is not someone who that's someone who when history looks back on, they're going to be like, this was a remarkably special and consistent player. That's not someone that just comes around because he gets the right role or usage, it's just a little bit silly. It's a very hyperbolic thing in my opinion. God, I would love some pick 19 full PPR Devon Achane. Let's go. Okay.
The other thing I'd like to make fun of for the fantasy community for doing is taking how players are looking running routes against no one extremely seriously. I saw so I saw actually our favorite fantasy manager Danny Ladd in Domain Stream today talking about how slow Mike Evans looked running routes against the air, and I was like, well, you don't understand Mike Evans then.
I mean,
Like,
he had a pretty great downfield route win rate. He did pretty well. Did pretty well as a deep threat. Did pretty well as an X. He's one of the greatest X receivers in NFL history.
but yeah, like that's just kind of where we're at in the off-season excitement, right? The training camp excitement. Like we get guys that are hyper analyzing every single route ran against no one in training camp, and stock is rapidly rising up and down. You know, I'm just not as interested in that for the most part. Not to say that there isn't any guys that you see in training camp that turn out to be gems. Like, I mean, Pickens was one. I remember his rookie year. They had like a really good training camp, and I kind of started drafting him back when rookies were cheap. So I got him in like the 10th, 11th rounds. I started sprinkling him in. That was and ended up being a good one. So like, you can find some nuggets in there, but I would urge you not to, I don't know, put a bunch of stock into how guys are looking running routes against no one.
Okay. Jeremiah Love. The fall on Jeremiah Love continues. I like our chances to come around and maybe get a Josh Jacobs here, which apparently I did not know. I mean, 43, that's pretty low odds. We might be boxing ourselves out of a second running back here, but I'm okay going hero running back with Chan in full PPR, so we'll do that if we have to. Would love Chris Olave's price is pretty good here. Devonta Smith's price is pretty good here. I'm really starting to warm up to Zay Flowers. I do prefer Smith to Olave. I probably prefer Flowers to Olave, honestly, but I don't know. You tend to get him a little bit later here. I've been getting Flowers at the 3-4 turn, so I've been kind of letting that go. Probably go Smith or Olave here.
To me, where you're drafting, and he's not there anymore, but this is where I would be excited to draft Trey McBride.
Yeah.
I'm kind of a Trey McBride guy in the early to mid third round. There's like a very specific group of guys that I want to go first,
Yeah.
but I jump up and take Trey McBride over like the Devontae Smiths, Zay Flowers of the world.
Yeah, I was talking about it last time. I'm just not the biggest Chris Olave guy this year. Even though they're gonna have an amazing pass rate, he just got broken off. I really do wonder if what ends up happening is the rookie can run really good short to intermediate routes, so he gets put as a true X receiver on the outside. His A dot goes up, and then sort of those easy button looks that he was getting like force fed last year go away. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. Time will tell. That would also require Jordan Tyson to stay healthy and to be the player I think he is. So like I think Olave is probably a pretty safe pick in some ways. I just think there's a little bit more floor there than the fantasy community thinks. They think they're getting the fringe wide receiver one from last year. I'm not sure about that.
Well, to me, the floor there is this man is probably the most concussed person in the NFL behind
Yeah,
Tua
that too.
Tagovailoa,
That
and
too.
he just needs to take one hard hit or have like his blood clotting issue
Yeah.
flare up, and he could just be out for extended periods of time. And I mean,
Yep.
it hurts a lot more when that's your mid-third round guy that you're taking over Big Buka or Zay Flowers. Colston Loveland creeping up into the third round now. The Bulls will not stop.
Dude, if this starts happening, like if I start being able to go into my drafts, like I would probably take Hampton above Genty there. But if I start being able to go like Hampton, Barkley, Brown, whatever, one of those RB2s, Hampton into them. If Cook's going first, I would take Cook first. But if I can do that build in redraft, I'm gonna go ahead and do that. If I get the opportunity to flex Jeremiah Love from the 3-4 turn, and I hate doing it because I really like the wide receivers that are here. That was in my running back article today. That was the whole centerpiece of it. That is like my most prized start this year is the back third of the draft, RB start, and then take two wide receivers at this turn. There goes Jacobs. The dream is dead there. And then take two wide receivers at this turn. It's going to force me to take a long, hard look at it. If I can flex a top 3 taken running back at what is essentially the 4th round, I'm gonna have a lot of those builds this year. I'm gonna have a lot of them. I don't think Jacobs, again, I keep saying this. I don't think Jacobs ADP holds. I think he's gonna fly up before the end of the summer, but maybe not.
I'm seeing enough doubters. I'm seeing enough doubters and people kind of not interested. Or a lot of the Jacobs managers from last year got knocked out of the playoffs when he just kind of like after he came back from the injury, he was a dud, right?
Yeah,
So I think a lot of people are saying, "Oh yeah, he's just not good anymore. I'm
yeah,
out." Right? So
yeah.
I think that buying opportunity might stay pretty consistent if you have a bunch of if you don't have guys like us in there that are gonna say, "Yeah, no, I'm still buying Jacobs."
Yeah, little bit early to pull Tootin up. Dude, I like. Okay, we're gonna go Waddle there. We're not gonna leave mid 4th round Waddle on the board. We are not gonna leave. I would love to get Tootin on the comeback, but at least that gives us a pretty incredible wide receiver room. Jackson Smith and Jigba, Chris Olave, Jalen Waddle as wide receiver 3. We are liquid. We are fluid to take a wide. I'll take a wide receiver or a running back here, but the wide receivers get or the running backs get pretty gross if you don't get one of these dudes as your RB2. You're sort of getting into a weird territory there pretty quickly. So ideally one of these guys is here. And then Mike Evans, like I think for best ball, right? I think it could be you're opening yourself up to a pretty miserable redraft experience with Mike Evans because of the type of injury floor that's there. But I also think maybe the community needs to be more receptive to the fact that if the entire 49ers receiving room really is going to be injured already, and if their general surrounding core is going to be injured, like Mike Evans, if he stays on the field, will probably see 140 targets this year. And if that happens, like he's certainly a league winner from the 5th round. I think people are going to be too queasy about the prospects that his body holds up to that kind of beating, which I completely understand. That's a historical bet that you probably should bet against. I'm just saying. I think at some point we have to maybe think about if the rest of the team is looking that banged up, is there a chance we get Mike Evans getting crazy usage this year? And if we do, what would that look like in San Francisco? I think it would look pretty exciting.
Hold on, I'm pulling up a Dr. Jesse Morse tweet. I used to not like this guy, but I've since become a fan of his.
I do like Jesse. I like Jesse. Go on.
And he was tweeting about Mike Evans today. I want to see. Okay, so Mike Evans has missed a total of 15 games in 12 seasons due to injury. Is that a surprising number to you?
That's at go. Oh mother, dude, that start. Could you imagine? I would take Tootin over ETN. I actually prefer Tootin to ETN, but God, look at that. That is art, sir. Bijan Robinson, Drake London, George Pickens, ETN, Tootin. So there's our run right there. Swift. Does Monty come back around to us? That would be great if he does. I have a feeling he's going to go at the next guy to Christian McCaffrey. Substack. Ooh, got another sub. Man, 8 subscriptions to the Substack from that article. Thank you guys off Reddit. Not that any of them are actually here. That's really cool. Oh god, no, it looks like a bunch more. Cool. Um,
It's a very nice article. Just make sure, guys, if you're going hero RB, you're not supplanting or I guess supporting that with guys like Jonathan Brooks. It could just zero for you. You probably, I would suggest the more third down pass catching guys that will at least guaranteed give you some points.
So I plugged him into every section on the hero. Thank you for reading that, by the way. That's nice. Okay, dude. So I'm gonna be really happy if this holds for drafts. This is a really comfy click for me. I don't care if people are calling it dead zone-ish or calling him unk or saying the Texans D line is bad. That Texans defense, I think, is going to be one of the best defenses that has ever taken the field in NFL history. They are quarterbacked, so to speak, by D'Amico Ryans, one of the great defensive minds of his generation, one of the great defensive players of his generation. David Montgomery might get 25 touches a game. I don't care if it's dead zone-ish. This is like my Custard's last stand of running back 2. If I fall back, and you know what? I'm actually getting kind of excited by the Quinshon Judkins 3-down back stuff they're saying. I think ultimately he's still like with a terrible O-line on a team that probably won't have a lot of run game scripts and a terrible quarterback situation. So I don't know how excited I can get. But the team is really hyping up that he's taken steps forward as a pass catcher and like route runner and blocker this year. I do think that's actually interesting. He may go from one of the guys that I'm drafting around to sort of on my board, but David Montgomery feels so comfortable to me. Have you, I mean, you're obviously, if you've been looking at this range all summer just like I have you gotten like more or less comfortable with anyone as the summer's gone on? Do you have like a guy that you're really picking on here?
Well, I can tell you that Quinshon Judkins is not one of those players. He's part of my process bet that I'm not going to be in redraft hammering those guys whose feet almost fell off
Right.
on the turf. And also, like, he's a member of the Browns. I have no doubt that the big Q is like that level of player and
Yeah.
can be a 3-down back and catch passes. I'm just not interested in the Derrick Henry of this iteration of the Browns at the moment. For 5th round guys, like I haven't really moved too much on it. I have my like I think you have to pick and choose your running backs here if that's what you're doing. And then to me, Devonte Adams is a tier break. I think that well, I would put Mike Evans up in that tier too. I prefer Evans to Devonte Adams straight up, but I really like taking Devonte Adams if I'm looking at wide receiver there. Because once you get into the Christian Watsons, Marvin Harrisons, Roma Dunzes of the world, it becomes a little weirder for me, and I think that's not as good of a profile. Parker Washington continues to go in front of Brian Thomas Jr. in these lobbies. I was watching a couple mock drafts today. Who was doing one? Nathan, aka the Bug from Fantasy Domain, was doing one. I saw a guy who pulled Brian Thomas Jr. up over Rome Odunze and DJ Moore at the 5-12, and Parker Washington went at the 7-7. I think that's too bullish on Brian Thomas Jr. and too bearish on Parker Washington. I think that there's like a middle ground there. Like to me, it's like about a round difference of ADP between Brian Thomas and Parker Washington. There's maybe like 2 or 3 wide receivers in between there that I would prefer to Parker Washington. My main thing is I don't want to pull Parker Washington up over that run of quarterbacks that's going. Your Drake Mays, Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, Joe Burrow. I guess like I'm much more interested in drafting that type of piece to your roster before adding a speculative BTJ or Parker Washington. Actually,
Yeah, I think that's fine. Again, I'm gonna be such a late quarterback drafter this year that and maybe I don't know, like maybe that's something I need to examine more closely. I'm just very reluctant to draft quarterback at any point like before round 8. And you don't want to be rigid like that. You know, it's kind of stupid. I just on high stakes leagues, which again I think are going to mirror. It's not that like you rightly get annoyed if I just say, well, this is going on in high stakes, and you go, I don't care what's going on in high stake because it's an appeal to authority, right? Like the reason that an appeal to authority is a fallacy of logic is because if you just say, well, the authorities say so, the authorities are wrong all the time. We're going through that right now, not to get political, with a COVID vaccine. The authorities told us, no, you just get the vaccine. That's what you do. And then it turns out now they're publishing papers about how it's a pretty horrific thing to do to your body. Well, or there was a time when the authority said the earth was flat. Well, whatever. So when you appeal to an authority, that's a fallacy of logic because you still have to evaluate the argument on its own merits and whether it's good or not. So I don't say like, well, this is what's going on in high stakes and high stakes are always right. That's not what I'm saying. When I say though, like this is what seems to be going on in high stakes, what I'm saying is I've noticed that what goes on in high stakes precedes what goes on in lower stakes. So like these guys start doing stuff and then maybe it's the content creators that talk about it, maybe it's the streams that get seen, maybe it's the articles they put out. It tends to trickle down is more what I said. So I've just noticed in high stakes, like there's some stuff where because everyone wants a late quarterback, you'll get like Josh Allen in the third, Lamar Jackson in the fifth, and then Jalen Hurts in the eighth. And then like, or Jaden Daniels in the late seventh. And that creates a problem for me where you're getting kind of shafted in terms of the value proposition. If you take a Josh Allen in the third or a Lamar in the fifth and someone gets a round 8 Jalen Hurts or like a round 7 Drake May or Jaden Daniels. So that's more where my concern comes in about shooting on those early guys. Damn it, dude. I was going to jam Sam Laporta there.
Speaking of which, you got some Jalen Hurts staring at you right there. To me, it's him or Kraft.
Yeah, I like Godwin a lot, but I do want to keep. This is just like a big bet I'm making this year. Is I think Tucker Kraft has an outside shot at being the Packers' like de facto wide receiver one. I do think it's going to be Watson, but like there's still a world where they just run through Kraft. Very happy with this start, nice and balanced. Not that interesting. I could have gone running back there maybe. I do need to take Shuck with this build. When I have Olave and Tyson, this has to be a Shuck build, so that'll be 115. We'll hope that no one reaches on him. And then I was gonna
look at this price for Jalen Hurts. Dude, I'd be so happy. I would be so happy with the late 7th Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, my thing, right, with best ball is I'm if I have a great stack early, I'll take it. But if not, because you're taking the highest scores from 2 or 3 guys, I tend to be willing to push quarterback a little bit more.
Yeah, I think the quarterback ADPs in these lobbies do kind of follow correlation a lot. Like if you go to the draft board, like Matthew Stafford. Yeah. Went before you even made your pick, right? And I'm sure that was a Puka roster.
Yeah, exactly.
So, guys, I don't expect the quarterback position to exactly mirror these lobbies, but if they're getting pushed down like this, I will be happy with some round 6 elite quarterback in the boat.
Yeah, yep. It'll be interesting for redraft to see. That's, I mean, obviously what I care more about is like, what do the redraft lobbies do? What am I going to do? Okay, there goes Jonathan Brooks, Chris Godwin. That's a turn that I'm real happy with if I'm that guy. But I don't like, why would you reach above some of the, is Jaden Daniels isn't still on the board, but it's above some of the quality quarterbacks and wide receivers that are there. Why would you take a 4th running back in Brooks? And that's the word, Brooks is the worst build for a running back room like that. Okay. We are one away.
I would have to disagree there. I think that's the room you take Brooks in, where you have 3 guys that are in theory startable, and then you can take the lottery ticket on Brooks. It's still earlier than I would do it, right? So he's got Barkley, Jacobs, and Quinshon, who should be in theory like cornerstones of your roster, and then you could take the lotto ticket on, hey, maybe this works out, right? I prefer that type of swing to like the Kenny Gainwells of the world that I think are low upside if you're RB4 in those builds.
So there I did take Kenny Gainwell. Because of the receiving role, full PPR, I think he reinforces my room pretty nicely. I'm going to try to get Tyler Shuck to pick after this one. We can tack down. See, that's why I wanted Laporta. I was going to try to get Goff here. Bo Nix to Waddle, though, would be a pretty good base if he's there. Yeah, we'll go Bo Nix to Waddle, and then we'll come around and do Tyler. I think Bo Nix and Tyler Shuck have the same bye week. No, they don't. Okay, so ideally these next 2 picks, we get a Bo Nix to Waddle stack, then a Tyler Shuck to Tyson and Olave stack. I was telling Trayton, because again, I know that 3 QB is all the rage. Like, I've personally just been opting to get my upside elsewhere and to do fragile quarterback builds. So like, even though this is like this shittiest room I would do that with, a Bo Nix and Tyler Shuck room, that's almost too thin. That I probably would take a 3rd one, but I'm close to it. I'm actually okay if the board falls a certain way and these are my 2 quarterbacks. I'll live with it. I think it's a mid-range or a back-end quarterback 1 and a mid-range to high-end quarterback 2. I don't know. I think most weeks you're going to get your 18 points, 16 points out of that room, and then I think both of these guys could spike this year. The Broncos have one of the highest pass rates in the league. So do the Saints. I feel really good about who Tyler Shuck is throwing to. I feel really good about the addition of ETN to that room. Not that I like ETN as a player, but I like what he does to the offense. I wish we had a Purdy stack here. Purdy is like a really good value, but I do want to take the stack. And I wish we had gotten Laporta. Laporta would go so hard right now. Laporta, Jared Goff here.
Yeah, in redraft, I'd be super inclined to just do the Purdy click there. Not if you already had a quarterback, right? But
Yeah,
the correlation not as important in redraft. I do try and correlate in redraft though. Like I think the last 3 years in our home league, I've done that. Last year, my shot was JJ McCarthy and Justin Jefferson.
yeah. Yeah. That went well.
That was
Everything
the
went well
that.
last year.
Listen, man, JJ McCarthy was not on my roster after week 1 until the end of the season when I was in the consolation bracket. 7-7 year. It was really bad for your boy. It's funny because that draft was so good from like round 10 on, but I just got killed in rounds like 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, and it was just over.
Hey man, for what it's worth, I was right in the trenches with you. I actually do like a little Debo Samuel. I want to start sprinkling him in. I think he's going to get 6 to 8 touches a game, like at worst this year. Seems like a pretty interesting bet, especially with the way Kyle likes to use him.
My only concern with Debo in lobbies like this is that you're competing with guys who got Debo in like the 15th, 16th round when he was
Yeah.
still unsigned.
Yep.
But I mean, he should be involved in the offense, no doubt. As long as he is upright, they're going to need contributions from him this year. And I'm pretty excited, man. I get to do one last ride with my Debo jersey.
Dude, I think so where we were talking about it earlier though, like I think the arbitrage play there is probably just to take Stribling as your last pick in redraft. Like you can get Stribling as your wide receiver 5 or 6, just like again he's gonna be in my beat the waiver wire article for like guys I think you should add as the last roster spot in your league that I think could go up with a big week 1. To me, it's like I really like. I'm gonna post that guy's article or at least reference it at some point. I want to give him credit. He did such a good breakdown on Stribling's prospect profile and why he profiles a lot like a high upside Juwan Jennings, which is actually pretty like a super athletic Juwan Jennings, which is pretty interesting if that's like what you project him as. Okay, are we gonna get the Tyler Shuck double stack here? Don't do it, man. Don't take it from me at the last minute. Okay, really happy with that. So we get Tyler Shuck thrown to Chris Olave and Tyson. We get Bo Nix thrown to Jalen Waddle. We have a pretty balanced 4-3, 4-3-1 start with like an anchor tight end, I would call him, in Tucker Kraft. Apparently the market is not high on that from what I've been seeing. But I am high on Tucker Kraft.
Yeah, our friend and fellow free Tendies fantasy manager Wes today was saying that he is not in on Kraft, or it would be weird for him to come back from the injury that he sustained very strong. I will be aggressively jumping into that risk this year,
Mm-hmm.
assuming I get him at a good price.
Yeah.
I have noticed in Yahoo, like the tight ends, that tier 2 of tight ends we released in the article, the Laportas, Crafts, and Wardens of the world are going like around more expensive. So I'm not clicking like, for example, Tyler Warren in the 5th. But if he falls to the 6th, I'm taking that all day.
Dude, it's like an anchor pricing thing. And this is why though, like when you talk about like market trends and like how to not chase things when they start running, like there's an argument to be made that what's now happened is one, McBride had a league winning season last year. He had an incredible season, record setting season. McBride championship rates were off the hook. And his drafters were really well rewarded for going in on him. But then what starts to happen is like that price gets anchored around the 2-3 turn where people are going, well, okay, so here's like, price point 1 for elite wide receiver or elite tight end, excuse me. I said a wide receiver because I'm deciding, do I want Romeo Dobbs or Mark Andrews here? We might just see what tight end comes around to us, even though I like Mark Andrews way more. So that's at 139. Yeah, I really like.
Isaiah Likely's been getting steamed up as the clear wide receiver 2 in New York.
I barely take any Likely. Should we take some Likely over Dobbs? See what receivers.
Hey, if you want to follow the breadcrumbs of Coach Speak.
Okay. That means no Goddard, no Andrews. Oh God, there goes Tyron Trade. Oh no, there goes the whole tier. Yeah. Okay. That's okay. See if we can get any of these dudes. No.
Whoa.
No. If it tells me my
Sorry, we cannot find your location.
oh, if it I was about to say, dude, it'll be a live crash out on YouTube. Okay. Yeah, maybe I should have gone. Probably should have gone Dobbs there because he's a really good wide receiver five. But I'd be happy with any of these three. See what comes back
I
around.
don't know, man. This cluster of wide receivers, like
It's just pretty
you
gross.
could no, no, no. I think that it's kind of like just pick your favorite one in this area, right? So I don't mind going up and getting Likely, who I think is a positional edge over like that next tier of tight ends potentially. And then like there's not a big difference to me between Romeo Dobbs and Rashid Shaheed or Jalen McMillan or Jaden Higgins, you know?
Maybe, maybe. I think Dobbs has some real upside this year. Like no, only as a best ball guy, not as a redraft guy. He won't be on any of my redraft rosters, or maybe I don't know. Maybe he will if he falls enough. Like if people really forget about him, they went out and signed him. They're talking about him in the power slot role. That's kind of interesting. I think this guy got really good value. Like that's sort of a sneaky. If you're back here, especially in best ball, you get a Wandale Robinson, Romeo Dobbs. I like that a lot with T Higgins and Amon Ra. I think that's good.
Oh yeah, and that draft day I was talking about where Parker Washington was like 2 rounds different than BTJ.
Mm-hmm.
Someone drafted Wandale above Parker Washington. That's too much. At that
Wandale
point,
above
take your
Park.
Park.
Yeah, that's way too
Yeah,
much. Yep.
at that point, take your Parker Washington shot.
Okay. I think we're. I think just because I kind of do want to start to get a little bit of it, because I think he's going to play a lot. I think we're going to take Deshaun Stribling. Yeah, we're going to take Deshaun Stribling as our wide receiver five. I just went on a whole rant about how I actually think he might be the wide receiver to own there behind Mike Evans. And I think if Mike Evans goes down, I don't think they're going to put Debo at the X. I think they're going to put Stribling at the X because he's got that body type. So we will chase that a little bit.
Well, yeah. To go back to the Dr. Jesse Morse article,
Hmm.
about Mike Evans. Let me pull it up again.
I will say
Yeah,
I thought that was startling. Like when you said that, I was like, oh, that's not what I would have guessed.
but yeah. So like he sustains an injury almost every year, but really 5 of the 12 games that he missed, or no, 5 of the 15 games he missed, or no, sorry, 10 of the 15 games he's missed in his career were last year when he broke his collarbone, right? So a lot of people like to be like, oh, Mike Evans is injury prone or whatever, right? And he does get dinged up usually during the year, but that hasn't historically resulted in him missing a ton of time, right? Like maybe he pulls a muscle and misses 1 or 2 weeks this year, but for that upside, right? Like in the fifth round, I will be jumping in head first to the injury risk there.
Dude, so think about it like this, right? Because I think he's going to stay in the fifth round. I don't think he's going to get up. This is half PPR we're talking about if you're playing in the free Tendies leagues, if you're playing on Yahoo, if you're playing on Underdog. This is half PPR. If Mike Evans comes out and has 12 touchdowns in half PPR, which Juwan Jennings had years where he was like approaching double digit touchdowns, if Mike Evans comes out and has 12 touchdowns this year, he will be a league defining player in half PPR, even if he misses 2 to 4 games. I think the community is wrong a little bit in terms of like the fact that you can get him in the fifth round in these are best ball drafts where I can go get him in the fifth round to me is a little bit ridiculous. Um, should have thought about the Jawan Johnson stack with oh god I almost accidentally drafted him. We're gonna take Kamara though to stack with Shuck here as our RB5. I like that a lot, especially in full PPR. Nice high floor RB5. We got some clips this week of him going out of the formation and like getting motioned into passing routes. I like that. Um, I guess he's our RB4. Yeah, he's our RB4. But good. We needed an RB4. Okay. I wish I had just waited on Jawan Johnson, though, with Likely there and taken Dobbs, but that's okay. We're rolling. We're rolling.
I mean, you could take Juwan Johnson the next round.
Mm, yeah, if he slides, I will. But yeah, dude, like I think I don't know. Mike Evans becomes a really interesting pick to me, and I don't think I'm taking Luther Burden over him, which is stomach turning to say. I don't think I'm taking Luther Burden over Mike Evans. I think I'm going to take Mike Evans. You know, normally after you say something like that, you go, and I'm going to sleep like a baby afterward. I don't know if I'm going to sleep like a baby afterward, but I think I'm going to do it. Um,
We're gonna
still,
have a very, very real test of coach speak here for Ben Johnson. Ben
yeah,
Johnson is not registered on the coach speak index
yeah,
yet.
yeah, yeah. Pretty good report as someone who was jamming Malik Washington all summer, basically in the 190s. Said he is clearly the guy with the best chemistry with Malik Willis and slated to be their RB1 or wide receiver one in terms of usage. That's exciting for me because I've been drafting like he will be their wide receiver one in terms of usage. So let's hope that that holds.
The other guy
Um,
who's been getting a ton of like good camp press is Denzel Boston, a guy I actually have a
no,
ton of in
yeah,
underdog, which that's exciting for me. I usually don't, like I said, I don't take the coach speak and camp stuff too seriously. But when I've thrown darts in round 14 or 15 and kind of assume it might be a zero anyways, I get happy when I hear those things.
yeah, that's one where. So you remember, right? We went over it with the Ricky Pearsall injury. I got so angry when when the 49ers took Pearsall over Ladd that I had to take a drive around the block. What I was screaming at my television when they took Dejon Stribling is if you wanted a big-bodied receiver, why didn't you take the guy with the blue chip pedigree in Boston? Because like he was a guy that a lot of drafters had top 15 in the class, and thought he could maybe be a really good player. Hold on, I need to evaluate where we're at. I hope he's not really good just for my own mental health around the 49ers because I will lose it, dude. Okay, so for running backs, we could use another. God. Okay, blind just fell off my thing because I dropped my phone on the floor. That was absolutely terrifying. Okay, probably
It's
do.
because of all the reverberation in your empty
That's
apartment.
that's actually what happened. It's because I'm in an empty studio. Oh my god! When you live alone and you hear something crashing down behind you, it's quite scary.
Have
Okay.
you went and got a TV for your house yet for the remaining month?
Nope. I am sitting here on like packed up boxes, and then I like watch something on my laptop like a creep. That's what I've been doing. Okay, I do kind of want. Ooh, I said I would take a third quarterback. The brisket back here is a pretty good price. If I'm going to go third, that's kind of the last of the
Is
Mohicans
that
there.
uncorrelated, or do you have anyone
Yeah,
in
that's
that?
that's the problem. I don't have any stacks with it. It's not really an interesting. So I'm pretty happy with these two wide receiver picks. Reinforce my room pretty well.
If you're gonna go uncorrelated quarterback, for me, that's Mendoza all day.
No.
But you might be able to just get him in the next round, right? But to me, if I'm gonna go with an uncorrelated quarterback in these rooms, and I'm gonna do the late quarterback thing, like to me, a guy like Mendoza, who I guess like the question for him is when does he play and is he good, right? Is better to me than the like the Aaron Rodgers and Geno Smiths where you just know they have no juice, right? If I'm gonna spend a third quarterback pick, I want it to be like someone where if it works out, it really works out. You know,
Yeah. Yep. Um, this is this part of the draft that annoys me so much. It starts to get real late early, meaning all of a sudden you're looking around going, "Ugh, these options are just not great."
dude, I love the running backs in there. I kind of like this running back range.
Yeah.
Like, I think Marshawn Lloyd is kind of interesting. Braylon Allen obviously is a guy we've been pinging, and then Kalen Black. All three of those guys, like, I'd feel very happy if you're drafting round 17, 16, or whatever, right? And filling out the room. I think those are great shots. So it doesn't
Yeah.
annoy me so much.
We're gonna hope that Braylon Allen comes around at 198. I notice he's been going earlier, which is interesting, despite the bad press he's been getting. We'll hope a good tight end is available on the board still here.
What bad press is Braylon Allen getting?
Saying that
Because
Isaiah,
everything from the coaching staff has been saying they're a three-headed monster.
well, when they said Isaiah Davis is their two on the depth chart, I don't know if he was actually on their like. I don't care about the team's release depth chart this time of year, but the coaching staff said that Isaiah Davis is probably the two, which I don't think is like. I thought that was a reflection on Allen coming off a season-ending knee injury. I didn't think that was a reflection on Allen as like a player. Isaiah Davis is pretty good. Like I wouldn't be surprised if he earns that role. I'm still just treating it like it's Allen as the backup. Okay, Christian Kirk. That is an aggressive Christian Kirk. AD Mitchell is a pick I will never make. I don't care. I don't care what the best ball bros are telling me about the upside there. I'm not doing it. Okay, we get a third tight end that's spectacular in my opinion, in AJ Barner. And then we're gonna hope one of our two boys that we've been picking at late is there on the comeback.
I think the most likely scenario for the Jets backfield is that it mirrors what the Buccaneers are doing somewhat. I think that Isaiah Davis is going to be like probably the pass catcher there. He's going to be like maybe a third down, like scat back type.
Hmm.
I think that Braylon Allen at 250 pounds is likely to be the battering ram they bring in on at goal line, and then Brees Hall is going to be like the good player who, and I think he'll get more third down work too. Like, I don't think Brees is just automatically coming off on third down. I think he'll get
No,
some pass
no.
catching opportunities, but I do think that Jets backfield is that's why I'm so out on Brees. I just think it's going to be gross, and there's going to be a lot of people involved. So I'm just inclined to take like round 16, 17 Braylon Allen. He'll get you some touchdowns. There's no way, especially because last year that's what they were doing. They were pulling out Brees on goal line to put Braylon Allen in there. It's actually where he got injured. It was like at the goal line. He fumbled and like tore his MCL, I think is the one. But I don't foresee with him being another 30 pounds in muscle that Aaron Glenn is gonna not, or I guess reduce his role at goal line. I think they want to preserve Brees.
I think
That's the direction they'll go.
it just matters what you do with the follow the money argument there. People think that, well, Brees got broken off, so he's clearly going to be their three down back now, which to me would make more sense. The only thing that makes me wonder is, well, okay, so they're now like whatever, $60 million, probably 40 million guaranteed. I don't know what the contract is off the top of my head. But so they're this giant pile of money into Brees Hall in a year where they're much better off losing to get the highest draft pick possible. Are they really going to load up? And he's their best player, like, well, besides Garrett Wilson, but are they really going to sit there and absolutely load him up with touches when if he goes down or if he gets injured? Okay, so this is always a tough call for me because I like Sean Tucker a lot, but we will take Braylon Allen this time. I just sort of switch off between the two of them. I think Sean Tucker's a pretty great bet. If you think Bucky can't stay healthy, or if you just think the trend continues where they keep using him at the goal line over Bucky, I think Sean Tucker's a pretty good shout here. But yeah, so it just depends on what do you make of that argument about, well, they broke Brees Hall off. Did they break him off because I would be surprised if they broke him off to not use him in a three down capacity, but does it make sense to grind him down to a nub on a year where they would rather be losing? I don't think so. So
I mean, wouldn't signing Brees to a giant deal just so the Chiefs couldn't have him last year and then not using him, wouldn't that be the most Jets thing of all time?
that's the thing,
Wouldn't
right?
that be the most Aaron Glenn thing of all time?
Yeah, dude. Like, well, yeah. Like, you think about this though, right? Like, I don't know what to make, because again, I was pretty surprised. I have asked on a bunch of these streams, these dudes doing the $500 buy-in best balls, and I'm like, really, nobody has Jacobs over Brees Hall, and they're all like, no, no one's taking Jacobs over. And then the sharp guys are taking Love ahead of all those guys, and certainly ahead of Jacobs. And I'm kind of, I guess Jacobs does have, he had a bunch of lower body injuries on one leg last year. That's particularly concerning. He's high mileage. He's maybe dead zone-ish in profile, if you want to say that. Like, he didn't look particularly explosive last year. Um, I just think barring some like and I guess another valid concern is that the Green Bay Packers O line does rate as a bottom 10 O line this year by most of the popular O line rankers. So maybe there's an issue there if their O line can't get any push. But I trust Matt LaFleur. I do trust Jordan Love, like, as a quarterback. He keeps the offense productive. Sometimes you get these lulls, but for the most part, like, it's not like a dead in the water offense that you get with some of these lower tier guys. So if I trust all that, what are we overthinking here with not taking a 20 touch running back who's going to get passing down work and goal line work in that offense? But everyone is so against it that I think I'm clearly missing something. Maybe it's just the injury risk. Brees is an absolute darling of these high investment fantasy managers. So,
Well, he's really good. Like
yeah,
Brees, to me, if he was on a better team in a better situation, he would be in the conversation of that early second round tier running backs, right? The
yeah,
Hamptons of the world, the Achans, the Ken Walkers, the Gentees. Like, I think that if he was on not a joke of a franchise like the Jets, that's where I think his talent suggests he should go,
yeah,
right? And I think that a big thing in those lobbies is that's kind of what they do. The guys in like those high buy-in lobbies, like they definitely are more so the I'm buying the player talent versus the situation they're in type of
yeah,
people.
yeah, probably. Yeah, I think that's actually a good point. That's probably a lot of it. Plus, a lot of those guys are like, I mean, you've trashed me for it before because it's certainly true. I do want to add one more running back here because it's a thin room. I'd be happy if any of those three get back to me. What happens when you put the time in, like when you're sitting there studying film and grinding tape, you fall in love with certain guys. And like you really get attached to what you saw on tape with those guys, and then you think like this is going to show through, and then you get kind of like stubbornly you keep going back to the well on that. And I think that probably does happen. I don't know, like I think Brees has been like the RB 18 or lower since 2023. Like he hasn't
Yep.
finished as even he hasn't even finished as a high end, because I would call high end RB 60 in the first third of the next tier. He hasn't even finished as a high end RB2 in 2 or 3 years. I'm just a little bit gun shy about that. Now, again, in full PPR, it's a little different because I think he catches plenty of balls. But like in half PPR for our free Tendies fantasy leagues on Yahoo, I'm a little bit hesitant to anchor a running back, certainly to anchor a running back room. But then the question becomes, you're coming around the turn with a Bijan or a Gibbs, and you took a wide receiver up front. Do you want him as your running back too? Like, how secure are you with Brees Hall as your running back too? I think you're probably okay. But then you still have to look at like, so what are you getting out of like, what if Tootin really hits this year? Or what if Montgomery or Swift really hits this year? How much of an upgrade is Brees Hall over those guys? I actually don't think it's that big. And that's the problem for me, where I'm getting hung up with taking him. Whereas if you told me Jacobs plays 17 games this year and doesn't get hurt, I think he's probably going to be a running back one this year. I think he'll probably be, or at least right up there. I think he'll be right up there with like Henry and Kenneth Walker and Devon Achane. So yeah, I don't know. And like, what is Green Bay's schedule? Who does he play in the playoffs?
Well, I pulled up while you were talking. I pulled up the Jets schedule. Their last 3 games, so these are effectively the fantasy playoffs. They are playing the Cardinals in Week 15. They're playing the Patriots, who are I think the top one run defense, Week 16, and then they get the Vikings
Yeah, like
in
that's really
championship week.
that's not
Yeah, that's a
great, dude.
tough schedule. Yeah, for running back, that's not great. And then the week
Oh,
before that, they get the Broncos too.
okay. So Jacobs might be what we call a chaperone to the playoffs. Gets you there, but then F's you in the finals. Dolphins, week 15, spectacular. Bears, week 16, spectacular. Texans, week 17. So that's, I mean, maybe that but dude, look at this schedule. So you got the Bills, the Saints, the Rams. That's hard. Are we up here? Are we up here? That's pretty hard.
Getting to play, being in the NFC North and getting to play the Lions and the Bears twice a year is great
Dude,
for running back.
he opens up with the Jets. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'm just gonna go ahead and keep jamming. Keep jamming. Okay, so we have 6, 3, 2. This is just what wide receiver is going to do something. I believe Keenan Allen is signing soon, but he's probably going to go here.
Is the Brandon Ayuk truth here? I'm going to insist that you take more of him because you believe there's an 80% chance he plays.
I do. I do. I committed that.
If you truly believe that, you should be hammering that in round 20 of these drafts. I'm totally not trying to sabotage you.
What is the thing about? I'll do Keenan Allen in 2/3. Keenan Allen is going to play this year. Oh, I love that as my last pick. I keep taking him.
I think Keenan Allen, how good he'll be this year entirely depends on where he goes, which is why I've not been taking him. Like if Keenan Allen goes to like the Colts, I'd be more interested in that. I'm trying to think of like wide receiver needy teams. If Keenan Allen went to the Skins,
I think he goes
I'd
to
be
the.
more interested in that. If he goes to like the Raiders, no thank you. If he goes to the Titans, no thank you. If he goes to the Niners, I'd be interested. Can you imagine if we just keep sustaining injuries and then make a call to another aging veteran in Keenan Allen, bring him into the substation?
Okay, so this is the start, or this is the draft from the running back start, or from the wide receiver start. Not my favorite start when you have to go wide receiver at the 6, 7, at the 5 or 6. It's actually my least favorite spot to draft from. We do get bailed out with the, for some reason, Nico Collins reach early. So get Devon Achane, JSN, Olave, Waddle, Montgomery, Tyson, Kraft, Gainwell is our RB3, Bo Nix, Tyler Shuck, Isaiah Likely, Dejon Stribling, Kamara is the RB4, Flournoy and Tesla. This is one of my favorite double taps late here. I think both of these guys are going to have spike weeks this year. I'm not interested in them in redraft, but I think for best ball, they're really good picks. They're saying they're going to get Isaac Tesla's own role this year. And I think I completed a really strong tight end room with AJ Barner. AJ Barner had like legitimate tight end 1 overall spike weeks last year. They're saying they're running him in the red zone this year. I love that. Braylon Allen, Troy Franklin get another Bo Nix stack down here. Claiborne, upside wide or running back 6, maybe something cool happens. And then my favorite way to end a draft is Keenan Allen. I'm pretty stoked about that. Let's see if anyone else in here killed it, because I think we're just going to do one draft for today. I would love this guy's draft if he didn't go Brooks at RB4. I think that was too costly for his build. Let's see, did this guy pull it out? No, he went uncorrelated Burrow in the 5th. All right. Nope. And then this guy drafted some dudes I love, but he did take Kenneth Walker and Javonte to anchor his room. Nope. Pretty sick start here, but he went with a 4th running back in the 7th round instead of Brian Thomas Jr. Okay. A lot of special little guys in this draft, my friend. A lot of special little fellas. I do like that. That's pretty good if he got, yeah. All right, Ted. Yeah, dude, I think we're just going to cut it at 1 today. I've got to get out there and get my 5 miles in.
Yep. We got to. So it's 107 degrees in Chico for those of you who are watching the show. So walking the dog has been extra hard for me in the heat wave because it's too damn hot to be walking a dog around. So I have to wait until sundown. It will be reaching 108 degrees by Friday. And that's the end.
Nice.
That's as hot as it's going to get. But yeah, it's a struggle out here.
So just a quick stream for today. That's how I'm building my best ball stuff. I just did my whole running back article today. Please check it out. That took like 10, 12 hours to write. It's doing pretty well on Reddit. I hope it's helpful to people. A little bit more beginner oriented. Not so much like if you're a hardcore dude, you probably read that and go, yeah, I know all this stuff. And apparently I did not know if you're a hardcore dude, you don't use the phrase double hero running back. You're someone who doesn't understand fantasy football if you use the phrase double hero running back. Sorry, I guess I got ratioed on that in the comments there. I'm going to continue to use the phrase double hero running back. But thank you guys for checking us out. Please like, subscribe if you're so inclined. Jump in the Discord. If you think I draft badly and you want to take my money, I'm putting like $1,500 up this year. You can show up and you can actually take my money. That is totally something that's free to do for you. Check the description, link in the comments. We're going to be live every night now through September. We're going to be live streaming all the free Tendies drafts. Come by, say what's up. Ted, any closing statements for the world?
Yeah, Yanni might be free eats, but make sure I'm not in the lobby because I'm gonna make your life hell. I'm not gonna do stuff like reach up for Parker Washington.
Yeah, there you go. I will have a lot of Parker Washington and Jonathan Brooks. If you think that's a stooge move, it's easy pickings. Thanks, guys. We will